think will be the leading rusher for LSU today. Do you want to know why? Yeah, I think he's the only healthy running back that they're going to go with. So with that, we'll go in and out of the lineup, and I think what we're going to do is talk about the matchups. We'll go position by position, and I think really talk schematically about some of the things I think changes we expect, so that you know the white team is basically the number one defense and the number two offense. The purple team today, the number one offense and the number two defense. The white team will receive, and with the number two offense. So with the number two offense, will feature T.J. Finley and Garrett Nussmeier. And let's start there, Jacob. The quarterback competition is real. This is the best quarterback room, I think, in spring practice. LSU has had some quite time. I remember back when there was Jared Lee as a true freshman, and Andrew Hatch was a Harvard transfer. So this is certainly an upgrade.
So, if you go back and you look at teams that had Jamarcus Russell, Matt Flynn, and Ryan Perillo in camp all at the same time, it has that feel to it because all of those guys obviously could be starters in the SEC. Well, this has the same feel to it. This isn't a quarterback competition because you have to have one because you're waiting for a guy to step up. This is unique in the fact that I have three guys that have started multiple games within the SEC, and they've had success in the SEC. Now, there's been some ebbs and flows when you look at some of T.J. Finley's starts, but we already did against South Carolina. So you have real quarterbacks in a real competition trying to win this job. And then Nussmeier comes in, a highly touted guy as well. So this quarterback depth and the health of this room is as good as it's been since, I would say, 2006.
Let's talk about T.J. Finley and your impressions of him a year ago in the middle of the season. He had the big game against South Carolina, Doug, and had some spots, especially at Auburn, where he struggled.
He was erratic, I guess, is the best thing that you can say about him. Very talented, but erratic. And that's one of the things that you can't have at this level of college football. You got to have a quarterback. And, of course, I say you got to have. You want to have a quarterback that is a replica of Joe Burrow,
right,
who is a guy that completes all the third and eighth passes. He completes the long touchdown pass when you're behind by 6 points. He's the guy that makes all the big plays at the right time. And so that's what you want. This quarterback group of four, you're looking for one or two guys that can fill the bill there. I don't know that we're going to see it today because we got one running back who's going to carry 80 times.
We're up to two. I will tell you this. So our sheets are already incorrect. As the white team will start on offense, and Max Johnson will take the first snap. And Ty Davis-Price is in the lineup, Jacob. So fill me in on that, as we didn't expect to we didn't know what Davis-Price's situation was there, as Johnson misses on just a little flat route to Davis-Price. What's been his status through the spring?
Yeah, he's been banged up a little bit, so he hasn't really been a full go. There's been definitely some missed time for him in the spring. But look, LSU fans know Ty Davis-Price. He has been here. He played a lot on that 2019 team, of course, last year as well. But they're wanting running backs, Ty Davis-Price, John Emery, to really step up, Gordy, and take that number one running back role. And this spring, they weren't able to have that competition because both guys were banged up.
And then speaking of Davis-Price, get a chance there, just a zone read, inside zone right there. And, what you like about Davis-Price has always been that he's really run between the tackles. Last year, the offensive line had some struggles. This is an area that LSU's got to get better at, Jake.
No, they do. They've got to get more push on the offensive line because you can be the best running back in the world, but if you're getting met in the backfield, if you're getting hit 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, then you're not going to have success. You go back and you look at that Missouri game. The running backs averaged half a yard before contact. When you go to the other side, Missouri averaged 4.5 yards before contact, right? Their offensive line was getting that push. Yours was not. So it's really a two-way street. You have to really work in unison to have a good running game.
3rd and 5 there as Tigers Max Johnson for the white team will hit Boutte. They'll convert and move the chains. Doug, we're seeing a whole lot of tempo. Seems like every spring game we see a whole lot of tempo. Players usually calling baseball, and they give us the game to call. It's a lot of tempo. And then we don't see tempo in the season. But new coordinator change. I think let's hit with that. Pete and Mangus coming in, and I expect we'll see more tempo than we did in 2019, 2020.
Well, you're hoping that you're going to see what you saw 2 years ago, and that is the type of offense. You have guys who came from Carolina, and Carolina, as the LSU completes to Keyshawn Boutte, who made a great move, 2 great moves to escape 2 tacklers, goes across the goal line. There is a flat thrown at the 20-yard line. It may be a block in the back or something similar to that. that was behind Boutte, actually.
So let me
but
reset
good.
the play for you. So just crossing routes there, and there was a bust on the purple side as Boutte wide open.
Yeah.
Somebody lost him on that. He made a couple moves.
Block in the back. Number 10 offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
Dre Jenkins getting called with the block in the back, so that'll come back. But nice job, Johnson there. Went through the options. That was his number 3 option as he scanned the field and hit Boutte on the cross. But go ahead and finish there, Doug.
Well, he's already done the things that I talked about a little while ago.
Right.
The Joe Burrow type completion, a third down completion for a first down,
Yep.
which gives them a new set of downs. He comes up with a long completion. Should have been a touchdown. It was a block in the back, but LSU's got it first down, the white team at the 30-yard line.
Jacob, biggest changes you expect from the Pete's Mangus offense from Ensminger, Linehan a year ago?
When you look at what they want to do as far as formation-wise, I think you'll see it be more similar to 2019, right? You're going to have some empty backfields. You're going to have some 5-man protections. They really want the receivers and the running backs to be able to do multiple things in this offense. We've talked with Jake Peets. He said, I want the 5 best guys out there. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't necessarily have to be 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, or it doesn't have to be 11 personnel with only 1 tight end and 1 back. We're going to get the 5 best out there, and they have to do multiple things in this offense. Another thing you're going to see a lot of shifts pre-snap because they want to get guys out in space, and they want to bring them back in to be able to see what the coverage is. That's a real indicator. He learned that under North Turner in Carolina. North Turner loves shifts to be able to tell what the defense was doing, and Jake Peets is going to bring some of that. You're going to see way more of the running back out wide, coming back in, also staying out there in those 2-man route combinations.
So Johnson hit Boutte for a 2-yard little hitch route on first down, brought up 2nd and 8, incomplete to Cole Taylor on seam route. So the white team now coming up with a 3rd and 8. See a whole lot of tempo. Empty. Didn't see as much empty as a year ago. That's 5 wide receivers out in the route, and Johnson by himself as a white team trying to convert here. 3rd and 8 from their the 8-yard line. Johnson stays in the gun. Nice job pocket-wise. That's got to be a flag. There's Coy Moore was running a slant route, and there was interference over the top. So they'll move that forward, and the white will be able to convert there on penalty.
Gordy, you mentioned empty, and again, you're going to see much more of that. But when you're a running back, you can't just be out in empty to run.
Pass interference. Defense number 21. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
You can't be out there just to run a hitch or a go.
Right.
You have to be a real threat, because if you're just a hitch or a go, then you're just out there just to try to spread the field out. You have to be what Clyde Edwards-Helaire was. We remember how that Florida game finished in 2019.
Yep.
That's a real 2-man route combination and not just window dressing out there for the run back.
No, absolutely. You know, one of the things that really I think was missing a year ago, and I'm not sure of the reason, you talk about pre-snap motion. You mentioned a little bit about the Carolina connection. Sean Payton loves all that motion down in New Orleans when he had Drew Brees because they were trying to get a pre-snap read because it tips off the coverage. I think one of the things that benefits, Doug, you know, this transition here in LSU with Peeps is that you have Brennan, you have Johnson, you even have Finley that have played some football. It's not as if you've got a green quarterback going into 2021.
Well, and they played some football and played it in a system, an offensive system, very similar to what we expect they'll play next year. That they have practiced all spring. So the moving around of different players, the spreading of a tight end, putting him way out to the side, he eats up a defender, but he's there to receive the ball if necessary. But more than that, he lets the wide receivers operate in the slot where they can use their quickness and speed.
Ty Davis-Price for 4 yards on set makes it 3rd and 4 for the white team from the purple 7-yard. Jake, very welcome to see the tempo back. I thought in 2019 that really played to LSU's advantage, just getting defenses unorganized, and you force defensive coordinators to be very vanilla and very quick with their calls when you go no tempo.
Yeah, they can't make the adjustments. They can't have that communication that they normally have if you're a huddling team or if you don't have the tempo like we're seeing here today.
Johnson scrambles from the pocket. He's going to have to tuck. He's going to be short. About a yard or two of the first down as he at least made some positive yardage. I call it 4th and 2, maybe 4th and 3 from the purple yard line. Let's see what spring game. You don't know what's going to happen. probably go? Do you want to kick a field goal? What York can do. York won bad last year, huh?
Hey, that's the one guy that if you're talking about spring practice that you don't necessarily have to see in the spring because you know what he's capable of.
All right, so here we go. 4th and 3 from the purple 7. Tigers are empty. No running backs in the backfield. 2 wide receivers to the left. Trips up top. Good to see Cole Taylor again. Look at the as athletic as he is wide right. And, you go back to Thaddeus Moss in 2019. You could put him anywhere in that set. Johnson going to throw a corner out to Boutte in the end zone. McLaughlin, great play at cornerback. He has been a storyline for LSU after, I believe, was at A&M late in the year. He had some really nice appearances at corner.
No, he's had a great spring so far. And remember, they need him to step up because when you look at that position, they've moved one of the guys they were counting on, Jay Ward, to the safety position. So that opened up a spot at corner. So good job by the defense there.
All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come.
And he's giving his inside receivers a chance to be open.
Yeah, and that was a change from a year ago with Eric Gilbert was here a year ago. Very athletic, but Edminger Linehan really chose to put he and Marshall inside a lot. You didn't see a whole lot of movement with Gilbert.
No, he wasn't split out. I mean, you're exactly right. And look, college football is kind of going to, we're going to put one of our best receivers in the slot, but you have to change it up. You have to be able to go inside or outside, and I like to see all the different formations we've already seen so far from Jake Peets.
All right, so Purple's going to take over. Ball on their own 6-yard line coming out. It's going to be T.J. Finley at quarterback. I'm interested to see Finley. Showed a lot of promise in the South Carolina game. Had some issues early at Auburn. Kevin Steele did a great job defending him. It's going to be interesting to see how does Finley adapt to the quicker tempo, ball coming out, quicker offense. Finley right off the bat, quick slant route. Intended for. I got to flip here, Jake. Number 16, they flipped routes. Devontae Lee, who's really been pleasant going back over the receiver from linebacker position in the slant route. It is incomplete. Take me back to your assessment, Hester, of Finley's season in 2020.
Well, he's a true freshman, right? And sometimes we forget that. And when you're thrown in there as the starter, going to have some ups and downs. And he certainly had that. You mentioned the Auburn game is one he'd like to have back. Shined in the South Carolina game. You just have to be more consistent. And he knows that. But that comes with age. That comes with reps. And so that's what, again, makes this quarterback battle so unique. 2 quarterbacks we've already seen were true freshmen last year, but both got 3+ starts under their belt. And then, of course, Miles Brennan is a guy that's been here for a long time, Gordy, but he's got 3 starts under his belt, kind of on the same level as far as experience.
Doug, right there, Finley hit Kirkland about an 18-yard pass on a slant. Kirkland was in the slot, so a slant route. They moved the chains. He looks very comfortable from the pocket. He did a year ago.
He does, and what's going to be interesting to look for is the wide receivers and who's going to replace the many excellent wide receivers LSU's lost the last 2 years. And you heard some names 2 years ago that you had never heard before, and towards the end of the season, players got to be better and better, and lo and behold, Jamar Chase wins the National Award for Receivers, which is the top award, and he's going to be a top draft choice. Sure. And so, do you want to see, is there a Jamar Chase among this group? You don't know it yet because you hadn't seen him do it yet, but there may very well be.
Well, let's start with the group, Jacob. You've got to start with Boutte, who had the breakout performance in the back half of the year, but certainly record-setting performance against Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, he ended the year as well as you could have. I mean, set SEC records. But really, and when you talk with Coach O, the day Jamar Chase decided to opt out, you saw a difference in Boutte, right? Yeah. He wanted to take that role as, I'm going to be the guy on the team. And that was with Terrace Marshall still, who potentially could be a first-round pick, still on the team. So he's got that killer instinct in him. He showed it last year, but now you're looking for who's going to step up behind him. Is it going to be Jenkins? Is it going to be Moore? Is it going to be one of the young guys? Because you do have to have that number 2 option. Last year, you had a tight end in Gilbert that was really a receiver. Right. Now you've got more of a tight end mold in Cole Taylor. So which receiver can step up and be that second option?
3rd and 7, Finley says to Alex Adams, another a guy with a lot of promise on a slant route, just beyond chain. So the purple team's going to have the punt. Let's look at the guys on the purple team. Alex Adams, Jontre Kirkland, who's been a little bit everywhere for you, a really active slot. And then Devontae Lee has had a good spring, Jacob, and that's been a storyline.
Look, Devontae Lee's a very talented football player. I remember covering him in high school in the state championship games. He was all over the place, playing both sides of the football, and he's kind of got that Jacoby Stevens path here so far in his LSU career. He's moved positions a couple of times because he's really talented. They're trying to find somewhere for him to actually stick and land to be able to play.
All right, now we have a red hat. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with more of the first quarter. This is the National L Club Spring Game 21 on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Take their second possession of the ball game from their own 30-yard line. Max Johnson will be the quarterback from the white team, as they'll just run an inside zone. Big space for Davis Price. Ty Davis Price is going to get upfield. 20, 30, 28-yard run there on first down. Running back, a guru. Davis Price looking good. I know he's been banged up a little bit this spring.
Yeah, again, they need someone to step up in that backfield. They've got talented guys that have played multiple years here at LSU. And you can have a running back by committee, Gordy. Like, we know that. We have seen that. But you'd also like one of the guys to step up and be running back one, and Ty Davis Price obviously has the ability.
Doug Morrow, let's talk a little bit more about the wide receivers here. We talked about the purple, the second team, the number ones, and we heard Jacob talk about Boutte, but the other two, Coy Moore, Jere Jenkins, had flashes a year ago in 2020.
Both of them capable of filling the bill. This is the starting offensive unit for this game, the 1-0 versus the 1D. And those three guys, therefore, are the three top receivers. They're the ones on the first team. Coy Moore is someone that has, I think, capability that he's not yet shown yet, but he has the ability to do it. Keishon Boutte has shown it. And he is, to me, the Jamar Chase of this team. He's the one that'll have to carry this offense with the big catches, with the big plays, and he's capable of doing that in every game.
At LSU Radio is the LSU Sports Radio Network. Give us a follow. And if you have any questions for Doug or Jacob, we will try and answer it. Is Ty Davis Price up the middle for about 6-7 yards there on 2nd and 10. Jacob, we have one for my man Bradford that wants to come in and says, does number 35 for the Tigers, Nick Demas, 5'11", 202-pound redshirt freshman from Indiana, remind anyone else of Jacob Hester? You've seen a little bit of this Demas. I picked him up on my college fantasy today, although Davis Price has had a big first half.
Yeah, look, so they've been thin at running back during the spring. We've talked about that. And when you have that opportunity, right, if you're Nemus and you get that opportunity, then you go out there and you have to take it. And you have to say, hey, give me some playing time, like no matter what it is, if it can be special teams or whatever, because in the spring, like, you're going to have that. I know for me, Gordy, I won the starting running back job my junior and senior year in the spring. I was able to parlay that into being the starter in the fall. So, hey, I always love a good story, a guy in the spring busting his tail to be able to get out there and get some reps.
Doug right there on 3rd and 5, LSU moves the chains. Johnson, just one of those little bootlegs to Nick Stort's a backup tight end. High percentage play. Again, saw a lot of that in 2019.
And Stort's one of those guys that's a really good athlete, and he's becoming an excellent pass catcher.
So the white team, I should say. It's hard not to say the Tigers here when you're
you can say Tigers.
You say Tigers. Right. Everybody's the Tigers. You can't go wrong. But white team, 1st and 10 from their own 30 as Johnson scrambles and is actually sacked on the play. So our first sack, is that Mason Smith? Do we have a Mason Smith sighting? It's Mason Smith. I apologize. I was looking for a 0. Comes the first Tiger to wear 0. B.J. Ojulari.
They're expecting big things from this year.
Let's talk about B.J. Third down package, your speed packages a year ago. He was fantastic. Really came on in the second half of the year, Jake.
And this year they're wanting him to be a 3-down guy, a guy that doesn't have to come off the field. He's not just your third down cheetah package guy, but actually someone who can stay on the field because he's extremely talented. Obviously, as a freshman last year, he needed to gain some weight and get an SEC body. It looks like he has done so because we know how talented he is. I mean, the bloodline, he's got a brother that's going to be drafted here in a couple of weeks as well. So this is a guy that can be a game changer in a position where they kind of need someone to step up and be the guy off the edge.
On 2nd and 20, Davis Price for 4 sets up 3rd and 16 for the white team from the purple 32. Doug, I wanted to hit you with this. LSU returned all 5 starters from their offensive line a year ago. All of them could have graduated, gone on to the NFL draft. How big was that for the Tigers?
I think it's huge because of the experience in that group. And that's one of the things that it really hurt them last year. Offensively, LSU was pretty good last year. Defensively, they didn't hold up. But they've got to be able to both run the ball and protect the quarterback with that offensive line, and they've got a group with the experience and the ability to do it.
One of the issues last year offensively for LSU was not scoring points. However, Jacob, it was running the football and keeping that defense on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, really, they became one-dimensional. So the offensive line wasn't able to get that push, and then now you become predictable, and the defense is really able to pin their ears back, and so then they start to struggle in pass protection as well. So you have to be able to do both. We've seen even with the prolific 2019 offense, Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushed for well over 1,000 yards. It was a first-round pick. You cannot give the defense only one thing to worry about.
All right, Cade York converts on a 51-yard field goal. That's nothing to him after the Florida game. That's cheap. So the White goes up 3-0 with 4:51. Which believe we have a red hat. We'll go to our second timeout break. When we come back, Purple will have the football. This is the National LSU Spring Game.
Back with more from the National L Club Spring Game. Presented by Tony Sacheries on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
All right, 4:51 remaining in the first quarter. White leads over the Purple 3-0. TJ Finley and company, and the Purple team gets the ball back on the White 25-yard line. Jake, you got an update from Alex Box Stadium?
Yeah, in the top of the fifth, it is 2-0 LSU. So going for game two here after getting game one would be a big series win for the Tigers.
Yeah, absolutely. Is on first down, Finley hits Jontre Kirkland for a just a little hitch route, picks up the first down, 11 yards, move the chains to the White 36. Doug, let's stay with the offensive line and the Purple being the second team offense. I think what's interesting is the depth behind LSU. They were thin a year ago. A lot of good-looking prospects. Who do you have an eye on that Purple offensive line?
Well, the guy whose name that you hear more than anybody else is Anthony Bradford, a sophomore, number 75. The starting offense, Dare Rosenthal at left tackle, Ingram at guard, Shanahan at center, Chasen Hines at right guard, Deculus is at right tackle. But the other guys from the second group, Charles Turner at center, Cardell Thomas at guard, Dumerville at right tackle, they're going to be pushing, and they're going to be wanting some playing time, and that's great for offensively, because if you're going to be a team that relies heavily on both your run and your passing game, you've got to have that depth. You're going to have some injuries. You're going to have some guys that tire out, but to have that second group, and LSU's got a good second group to call on.
As two plays, the Purple team's able to get a first down. They move it now to the White 47-yard line, let's call it. So Purple team is in business right here. Jacob, take me through the offensive line. Your thoughts on Anthony Bradford. Does he have a chance to push Chasen Hines for that starting position?
Well, I think he does. This time a year ago, Coach O said, I consider Anthony Bradford a starter.
Yeah.
Now, he had some issues, some injuries, and I know he had some conditioning issues that he wasn't able to get on the field like they thought, and so he lost that spot. Now he's trying to gain it back. They do need some of these young offensive linemen to step up to be able to give them that depth that they feel comfortable about. It was good last year to see Cam Wire come in, and he really went all over the place, Gordy. He played tackle, he played guard. That is going to be their swing offensive lineman. He'll kind of be the guy that fills in everywhere outside of center. That's where Charles Turner fills in, but they still need some young guys to step up, because LSU is very fortunate that everyone, like you mentioned, decided to come back, because if they didn't, you're talking about a lot of guys that don't have experience, and so they still need to see more from these young guys that were highly touted coming out of high school. A guy like Dumerville playing tackle, right? He was one of the highest rated tackles in the country, but you still want to see that growth. And now with the older guys coming back, this year is the year they can get that growth, that experience, and then when it's their turn, really thrive.
Let's talk about Charles Turner at center. Came from IMG, was only 249 pounds, a little light for a center position, but they liked him athletically, thought he had a ceiling. Where is he after 2 years, Jacob, in his development?
Well, I think they really believe in him. I think that they have a real belief that he can be someone, because remember last year at one point, Coach O said he would be the guy to replace any position across the board, not just the center position. He did need to gain some weight. He has done so. He's a versatile guy that I truly think that they feel better about now than they did a year ago.
All right, so Finley is intercepted on a pass. He was running a slant pass. Unfortunately, did not see Ray Jones at cornerback. Tigers were playing zone there. Led the receiver. Jones returned it 36, let's call it 37 yards, took it all the way, take the ball all the way down to Purple 29-yard line. So right there with Finley, and the question on Finley is not about Finley from the pocket. Finley's solid from the pocket. Teams got after him, got some pressure on him, and that's where you saw, I think, some of his struggles happen. Right there, Jacob, he was in the pocket, and it was a crossing route, and just led the receiver a little too much. Deion Smith was the receiver on that play, interception.
One of the things they want him to work on is not allowing the ball to float on him. And sometimes you end up tendency when you have these strong arm guys is to throw a little bit off your back foot, and the ball tends to float on you because your arm angle is just lower than where it needs to be, and that's exactly what you saw there.
All right, on first down, Max Johnson and company take a shot at the end zone, looking for Dre Jenkins on the slot. It's over his head. It'll set up 2nd and 10. Looking at Finley, I think back to South Carolina. They didn't get much pressure on him, Doug, and he picked them apart. Kevin Steele decided he was going to play man-to-man on the outside at Auburn. Auburn got after him, and he struggled in that football game.
But, I mentioned that word, and I use it in exactly the way that I mean it. Erratic. And it's a word that I use to indicate to you that the quarterback, Finley, is the one we're talking about. Some of the time he is perfect, but some of the time he is horrible. And, what you want is a guy that is average to above average at worst and great when he's great. You don't want a guy who makes the bad throws in critical situations, and Finley's got to overcome that tendency.
Neil Farrell Jr. breaks through for the purple team, gets a sack on Johnson, loss of 9 yards, going to set up 3rd and 18 for the white team from the purple 37-yard line. And guys, let's flip sides of the football and let's talk about that defensive line, that defensive group with everybody returning. And this is a strength for this football team going forward.
The defensive line, to me, Gordy, is the deepest position on the team, and you can include quarterback in that because there's so many names. Like, you don't expect to get a Glenn Logan and a Neil Farrell back for this year. They decide to come back to add with a Joseph Evans, who Coach O might be higher than anyone on, and that's including all of the names that were 5-star guys. He talks about Joseph Evans every Tuesday when we catch up with him on the radio show, but you're talking about Jaquelin Roy, Mason Smith. This defensive line, especially interior-wise, has multiple guys that are game changers, not that you feel comfortable about, but real game changers, and it can be a strength. I'd love to see them add something to the defense where they have multiple guys from the interior, maybe split out wide, because Mason Smith and guys like that have the ability to rush the passer. So if you want to go bigger, if you're playing a more physical football, the depth there allows you to do multiple things.
B.J. Ojulari sacks Max Johnson. White team is forced to punt. I'll come back to you. Defensive line, stopping the run last year was a problem for LSU. It's hard to determine schematic-wise. This defense was never on the same page. Let's be fair with that.
Right.
And so, Doug, I'll put it to you. I think this defensive front is actually better than they played a year ago.
Well, this one coming up better be better than the one last year. And I expect that they will be. They've got experience, but they have more players, and they have great players who have stepped in and have the ability to play SEC level and NCAA level football and make big plays. And that's the key to it, I think, Gordy, is that you have a defensive line that is able to control the line of scrimmage. So rather than getting on pushback 5 yards on their heels, they control that ground where the football is snapped, and that gives you a great chance to make plays.
You agree with that, Jacob, that assessment? I know last year defensively, LSU was better than what they played, talent-wise.
Talent-wise, it's without a doubt, because there was guys in 2020 that we saw be really good football players on maybe the best college football team of all time, right? A Damone Clark, like that's a guy, Jacoby Stevens, Todd Harris, guys like we've seen have really good moments in their LSU careers. And so that's not making an excuse for those players, but a lot had to do with the scheme and the poor communication. The communication on the defense side of football last year was as poor as I've ever seen.
Pre-snap, I don't know that I've seen a defense not have 11 people on the same page in quite some time. How many times you had guys with their hands out looking at each other here?
Yeah, it's like the emoji with the hands out.
Right.
I mean, that was the 2020 LSU defense. When someone went in motion, Gordy, it was chaos. Any player went in motion, it was chaos because the communication was so poor.
Doug, I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you familiar with emoji with your hands out?
I wasn't until now.
No, you are now. It's just the little yellow guy, right?
That's right. That's right. First time in the booth, I thought I'd bring emojis to the first broadcast.
I like the fact that you brought that, too. We are missing Jim Nickel today, our spotter, who's somewhere in the Caribbean. He was unable to be here, and so our thoughts with Jim. We look forward to seeing Jim back in the booth as we are about to close out the first quarter here, as, in fact, that they will not get this playoff.
Jim only has so many Saturdays, Gordy. He only has so many Saturdays that he works, and this wasn't one of them.
We're blessed to get the 9 Saturdays of the 12 regular season games that we get out of him. It is end of the first quarter. We'll take a timeout.
Back to action from Tiger Stadium in the 2021 National L Club Spring Game. Presented by Tony Sacheries on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back. Second quarter underway as the white team leads the purple team 3-0. Gordy Rush, Jacob Hester, Doug Morrow from Tiger Stadium. And guys, Garrett Nussmeier is now under center for the purple team. Fill me in on Garrett Nussmeier, Jacob.
So Garrett coming over obviously from the state of Texas, a very highly touted recruit, of course. His father, Doug, been a long-time coach in the NCAA and NFL ranks, and this is a guy that you can tell has been, polished. He has been coached to play the quarterback position really his entire life and has always been an LSU fan. Obviously, his dad had some time there with the Saints, and so he comes over to LSU as one of the top quarterbacks in the country. He is a guy that is betting on himself. They asked about all the young quarterback depth already at LSU, and I love his answers. That, look, I can only worry about what I can worry about. I can only control what I do, and I believe in my talents. I believe in myself that I can go out there and compete. So he's not just here in an early enrollee just to be here. No, he really wants to compete to be in this quarterback battle.
And right there, 2 of his first 3 attempts are completed. A pass ago, he had Devontae Lee on a nice drag route. The second option, and that, we've seen that Sean Payton offense. If number one, the running back's not open, he'll get the running back, the receiver going out on the flat route. Nussmeier looks very composed from the pocket, Doug.
Well, he's a guy that looks about 2 or 3 years more advanced than his age is. He's a high school senior right now.
Right.
He's supposed to be at the prom, Doug.
That's right, Doug.
He might be going to it still.
But I'm with you. Very poised in the pocket, and again, familiar with this type of offense. You see this throughout Texas. A lot of spread, the throw type things, just going through his options. And that one, Jacob, on the 3rd and 9. His number one option which in triple coverage right there. Probably not the right choice, but I'll give him this. Real poised. He went with it, threw the ball down in traffic. It was incomplete on that play.
Yeah.
But that's the takeaway thus far.
Yeah, guy John J. Kirkland, who's been here a long time, is probably going to say, hey, young fella, let's not throw that one.
Particularly in the middle of those 3 defenders who are converging on me.
Sets up a 3rd and 8 now for the purple team from the white 42-yard line. Nussmeier empty back there. No running backs in the backfield. 2 receivers to the left, 3 to the right, I should say. A little pressure there. And a 3rd sack of the game for For the LSU defense, as they're getting some pressure, Mr. Roy from U High.
Yeah, he got a hand on him, but you know what? In a real live-action game, what we've seen so far in spring practice from Nussmeier, he's got escapability.
Yes.
He really does. Like, I didn't know that was part of his game, but we saw it there. And look, we don't know it's a spring game, and so if you touch a quarterback, you're going to call it there. But I like what I see from him as far as when he gets outside the pocket. He got outside just there, and he throws a strike to the sideline. In a real game, Gordy, I'm betting that's a completion. So that's a part of his game, really, that I didn't know would translate to this level.
Some a lot of parallels when I saw the high school film to Johnson, and then he can move.
Back with more from the National L Club Spring Game. Presented by Tony Sacheries on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
11:44 remaining in the second quarter. White 3, purple nothing. Miles Brennan at quarterback for the white team. Good to see Miles Brennan back, Doug.
It is. You know, he started out very well last year, and the injury really set him back, missed the rest of the season. Don't know yet, because this is the first time I think anybody in public has seen him play quarterback since the injury.
Defense number 2. Ball be placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
So get that cleaned out. Just a little comeback route on the side to Boutte. McLaughlin over there battling with him, and we've seen primarily man-free. So we'll get to talking about the defense, but they've been really vanilla, and have seen a lot of bump and run man. Going back to Brennan, who was injured in the Missouri game, you're right, the first action, the public had a chance to see Brennan.
And he had improved beginning the last year, you know, from the start of the season as the game went along. Obviously, the injury occurred in the Missouri game, and from that point, you have no read on what he was going to do the rest of the season.
I mean, he averaged over 375 yards a game last year. I mean, he had really, to Doug's point, every game he had gotten better and better, and there was never really a bad moment. I mean, the first half of the Mississippi State game, he's figured it out, but to the point when he did get injured, he was playing well, and so that's why, you know, he had to fight back to get back to be able to be here for this spring, because a lot of people didn't know Gordy. He had a very unique injury that nobody had really ever seen, so unfortunately misses most of last year.
Yeah, and that was the interesting thing, talking to the doctors, that you know, all the doctors is, let's see what happened here, on 3rd and 6, comeback route on the sideline, 50-50, whether on the comeback route, whether it was a reception or there was an interception, highly. And it's on the opposite side of the. Let's let them sort that out. Figure out who got the.
The rookie on the field is a catch by the white team. 3rd down.
Check that. Make that 3rd and 3rd and 2 is a little short, so they gave it to Boutte on the catch on that. But coming back to Brennan, and let's talk about his injury and talking to LSU doctors. You're right. Nobody had seen it, and rest was the only thing that they put out there. There was. Not something you wanted to operate on.
Yeah, it was one of those deals that if they did operate on it, they had never really seen it, so you didn't know what the timetable for return was, and so unfortunately the one thing that you knew you could do was rest it and miss the rest of last year. And Brennan wanted to be out there and play. There's no doubt about that. The guy waited his turn, right? In a day and age in college football, when you take your ball and go home, if you're not the starter day one, he didn't do that, right? He waited behind Danny Etling and Joe Burrow, and it was finally his moment, and then he has this injury that no one has ever really seen before. So I'm glad to see him back here out leading the Tigers because, like I said, I think he did it the right way, and now he's got his opportunity.
On 1st and 10, nice little fade vertical route against quarters coverage, zone coverage. Looks like Boutte caught it on the other side. Pickup of 36 as the white team's able to flip the field. Now they are threatening at the purple 28. We'll set it up as 1st and 10. Good pass right there. Brennan always been solid with the vertical ball since he's been here, Doug.
And is that number 24 over there playing defense makes the pass even better to throw a perfect strike. Derek Stingley with good coverage on the pattern. Boutte with a better reception. And that's the Jamar Chase challenge right there, which I love to see against those two great players.
Jacob, when you talk about Brennan, there are people inside the program will tell you some of the scrimmages he's had the best of all the quarterbacks. He's really had an impressive spring.
Just because he hasn't had the time out there as a starter on the field, I mentioned how long he's been here, and so he's been able to gain that experience. He's been in multiple offenses, and so there's not a lot that he has not yet seen. So it's not surprising that he's going out there and he is someone that is flashing in spring practice. And look, competition at that position to me makes the cream rise to the top. He knows that he's in a position battle. Heck, he's been in a position battle, Gordy, basically his entire LSU career. So this is not something new for him. The pressure is not going to get to him. If he doesn't win the job, it's not because of nerves.
I like this offense fit better for Brennan. The ball's coming out quicker than it was a year ago, and we'll touch on that. But I think the question for Brennan, and what the limited sample we saw last year, is his ability to move within the pocket and his ability to deal with the pressure packages.
Look, you don't have to be in the pocket with their footwork, right? It made them quick in the pocket. You could not get a sack on them. You could not get a hand on the ball to create a turnover. And Miles has that, right? He's not going to win a race, but what he has is a really good pocket presence to be able to get to the angles to get the throw off.
On 3rd and 8, Brennan tries to get a little in route that is broken up by Dwight McLaughlin, who has been fantastic. I go back to, was it the A&M game? And late in the season, he got
Florida
forced
game
into
as well.
play.
Yeah.
Florida game, that's absolutely right. It was the Florida game where he made some huge plays there. And here's a guy that's going to compete for that corner position opposite Stingley Jr. As York connects from 47 yards out, white team now has a 6-0 lead. We'll take a timeout. We'll be back with more in the second quarter on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
Live coverage continues from Tiger Stadium in the National L Club Spring Game, presented by Tony Sacheries on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
Second quarter, 8:14 remaining. White 6, purple nothing. Gordy Rush, Jacob Hester, Doug Morrow. Doug will get a chance to see series number 2 from Garrett Nussmeier, and I think what's clear, guys, is we're seeing a return, Doug, to the 2019 offense.
And that's a good return, if you recall 2019. Nothing wrong with that offense.
Nothing wrong with 2019.
And it's one that the players seem to enjoy running much more so than last year's offense. Although sometimes it was effective, it just didn't work when you couple it with the inept defense LSU had last year.
Jacob, if you were to characterize what's different about 19 than what we've seen from a year ago.
Yeah, so last year's offense wasn't bad. I mean, they were 4th in the SEC. They scored points. They had a ton of yards. And then, look, with the way the defense played, I mean, you had to play catch-up basically the entire game. But when you look at what this looks like compared to that, I see much more empty already. We've seen that, right? And we've seen guys with the shifts, with the motions. We've seen different personnel groups, right? It's not just going to be 11 with a tight end, a back, and 3 receivers, and they line up in doubles 2 by 2. It's not going to be that. You're going to see multiple formations. I love to see the running back, which they've done already about 5 or 6 times. He's been in empty, Gordy, but then they have a shift where he actually goes inside to the slot and the receiver goes out. You cannot be right in coverage, because if the offense is always moving and you have a running back that can run routes out of the slot, then that can be something that can be very beneficial for you. Now, saying that, the running backs have to hold their own, and they have to be able to do those things in the slot. So the running back position, to me, in this offense becomes really important because they're asked to do a lot.
And you had a huge drop-off experience-wise from 19 to 20 with Clyde Edwards-Helaire having played so much ball. You could put him anywhere in the football field, and you were very young at running back a year ago. Let me jump in here as Nussmeier's thrown an interception in the middle of the football field, just an ill-advised ball against zone coverage, in which he tried to, and I'm trying to get a 34 in the depth chart. There you go.
Antoine Sampa.
Yep. Linebacker from Virginia, second-year player with the interception. He was listed on the purple. I apologize. So now white team is in business. So Garrett Nussmeier a little anxious there, just trying to force a football. But going back to complete our discussion, Doug, on the running back position, and maybe that's why Ensminger Linehan went away from trying to throw it as much as that. You had Edwards-Helaire had a high football IQ and could do a whole lot of things in pass protection. You could move him around in that offense.
Well, you know, if you have a running back, as Jacob was talking about, who of being a receiver as well as a running back, you can put him in the slot, you can split him out, you can have him run patterns from within the field. But the important thing is, with that person, you get mismatches, because he ends up in man-to-man coverage with some guy who is either a linebacker or a safety playing against him, and that gives most running backs an advantage.
We will go ahead, Doug.
I mean, Clyde had 50 catches. I mean, that is a large number, and he was someone that Joe Burrow trusted. And I'll just give you an example. A couple of plays ago, Miles Brennan throws it to TDP right there in the flats. Now TDP turns up and he gets 4 yards. It was 1-on-1. Okay, you'll take that play. The difference was Clyde would make that guy miss and go for 17. Right, so that's on the running backs to be able to add that to their repertoire, to be able to make a guy miss, get upfield, and get a first down. Because there's nothing wrong with 4 yards, but if you're going to implement this type of offense, you want to see your running backs be able to really thrive and not just get what the play gives them.
Brennan on 2nd and 9 checks the ball down to Jenkins crossing. Going to set up about a 3rd and 4 from the Purple's 18. We'll see what Miles does here. But, that's a big part of the New Orleans Saints offense when you talk about what Kamara did and Reggie Bush.
It is Kamara. That's why he is so good, because he's a receiver who's a running back.
I go back to the 2019 Alabama game on that last touchdown before the half, Doug, you remember, and that they were able to take Edwards-Helaire out of the backfield, flex him out wide, and then they ran they ran a flood route, if I'm not mistaken, Jake, against quarters. But to have a running back with that sort of football IQ that's boom, boom, and understand what they're trying to do, understand what Alabama's doing, you want to run this offense, you've got to be at that level at running back.
So, Gordy, you know the story. I've told you this before, but when I was in Denver with Peyton Manning, we would run 2-man route combinations for an hour every day. Fullbacks, running backs, tight ends, and receivers. You had to go to both positions, and Peyton had a hand signal. He wanted you to know off that hand signal every position to be able to know which route to run. And if you got it wrong, he was going to let you know, and you were staying after practice. Because if everyone knows what to do inside and outside, then everything in your playbook is always up, and that's on the running backs to be able to have that ability.
On a 4th and 4, looks like Brennan's going to be able to convert. He hits Boutte on a simple out route. White is in business inside the 15. Let's call it the 13-yard line of the Purple. So Miles Brennan moving the white team here. We'll take your questions on Twitter if you want to hit us up at GLRush3 or LSU Radio. Craig Schilling, Jacob wanted to know, Gordy, what were your stats for spring games? I did really well in spring football, and then I'd get a little pat on the butt, and they said, you're going to do special teams in the fall, and that was the extent of it. But spring was, there's been some guys that have been great spring game football players just because of the numbers, right?
No, without a question. And some of them, they go away, but some of them actually because of what they've done in the spring, it gives them an opportunity in the fall. And spring games are always fun out there for a lot of people that might not get the chance to do what they do in the fall. I mean, a guy like Jared Small today. Jared Small was a former walk-on. He's out here. He's a local guy, played at Catholic High, and he is starting right now because there's a couple of injuries and there's some guys that are waiting on to get here as far as freshmen, but that is someone that Blake Baker, the new linebacker coach, has talked about a lot. This is his opportunity to show them something that he says, hey, this can translate to the fall, I promise you.
One of the guys that had a lot of great spring games, Doug, you may not remember because I used to give Matt Moscone a hard time about him, was DJ Chark. And he was unbelievable in spring games and finally wind up having that breakout season and has had so far a very good career with the Jacksonville Jaguars. But there's a guy that really shined in spring games.
Well, back in the day when there was no freshman eligibility, spring was when the freshmen got a chance to be noticed by the offensive and defensive staffs. That's the first time because you had a separate freshman team, and in the spring is the first time that the real coaches got to look at you, and so if you wanted to play, that's where you made your bones.
On 4th and 1 from the 4-yard line, Miles Brennan on a quarterback sneak. I think the refs are going to look at Ed Ogeron, see what he wants to do here. I don't think they're going to measure. I imagine Coach O's going to want to keep it going. Last time Tigers played here it was 53-48 over Ole Miss. This game is going to be a little lower scoring than that one was back in December. A couple days from Christmas is White threatening here is Ty Davis-Price on a zone read, and there was a fumble at the exchange. Looks like Brennan did fall on it. They'll play second down from the 3-yard line. I think, guys, what makes spring even more difficult right now is that you have the transfer portal, which was not a big deal 10 to 15 years ago. You have so many more juniors going on to the NFL draft. And your numbers, although you do have the mid-year enrollees, that I believe we have 7 or 9 that have come in here. You're lower in your numbers in spring game than you usually have been. Agreed?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that 85 scholarship limit, like no teams in the country actually get up to the 85, Gordy. You're exactly right.
All right. I've been told by SEC Network we're taking a timeout. We'll talk a little bit more about numbers in the spring football game spring session. That's next on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
More on LSU Fighting Tiger football in the 2021 National L Club Spring Game, presented by Tony Sacheries on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
Second and goal from the purple 5-yard line. Miles Brennan scrambles to his right, throws the ball out of bounds. Flag down, potentially holding on the white team. That's going to push it back as LSU, white team is threatening from their own 5-yard line with the white team up 6-0. 2 minutes, 34 seconds left in the second quarter. Guys.
Holding. Offense number 76. 10-yard penalty. You play second down.
That one on Deculus, a right tackle, so they'll push it back, and it'll be second and goal from the purple 15. Doug, take me back to your days, spring practice. How was that?
Brutal.
Brutal?
I mean, you got to realize.
We used to do 20 days. How many days could you go spring? I know it's been reduced and so many days in pads.
No, I think it was 20.
Okay.
We had we'd practice 3 times a week, as I recall it. Not a pleasant recollection, but 3 times a week. Then we would scrimmage on Saturday, and so it was not a fun time. I mean, you got to realize, from my perspective, here I am weighing about 175 pounds, and I am playing against these guys that I have so admired and respected for so many years because they were so much older and bigger and better than I was.
Yep.
So spring football was not one of those things that you had a good time, but it did make you improve or else quit, one or the other.
I think the hard thing in these times is we're looking now, white team 3rd and goal from the 10-yard line. Brennan checked it down to Kirkland for about a 6-yard pickup. As 3rd and goal, we'll call this one for you. Brennan on a vertical pass is looking down here to Moore, incomplete. Back shoulder fade, just a little outside of Moore's right shoulder. He's not able to bring it down. So 4th down will bring kicking unit onto the team. I'm sure that's going to be York or not sure who they're going to bring out there. We'll see who. Actually, Stafford is a backup kicker. They're going to take a look at it. I think, Jacob, the problem is you look at a game like this, you got 1 or 2 healthy running backs, and you have tremendous drop-off in terms of numbers. Like, till you get to your second team, 1s and 2s are a little bit more even than when you get to spring.
It is, and you just never know in spring, Gordy, who's going to be up, who's going to be available, who's dealing with something nagging and in the spring game. And as we sit here and we look at the rosters, and we were joking about it earlier, like it feels like you have like 2 running backs available right now. I mean, these guys are getting a bulk of the carries here. But I will say, like in this situation right now, LSU had the ball. They were 1st and goal. They were going in. They were on, the 3-yard line. And then all of a sudden you get pushed back, and now you have to settle for a field goal. I know that is a position and a spot on the field that LSU wants to get better. Coach O talks about it last year. That was something going back to the game at Missouri where they want to get better. They want to be able to push it in. And I know TDP's out here as basically one of only 2 running backs in the game, but that's somewhere they have to improve because that is a mindset, that is a will. When you're on the goal line, you have to score regardless of what happens in front of you.
And there will be a couple of freshmen probably coming in, running backs, who have the capability to give you that other advantage. John Emery is the guy on this team that you would expect to be the pass-receiving running back.
Yes.
And LSU doesn't have that player in this game. That's why. So they lose half of their offense when they get down near the goal line because you don't get the mismatches because you don't have anybody to create the mismatch on the offensive backfield.
It's hard to get the team practice and get accomplished what you want to do. And let's be frank, your goals here in this game, no injuries. Because this is on the SEC network and you have new coordinators, I really don't want to show what's going on. It's a whole lot of vanilla here. And so it's a glorified 7-on-7 when you think about it here. And maybe you can look at some quarterbacks here as Nussmeier is scrambling for his life. So he's going to throw the ball out of bounds on his first possession. 1st and 10 First and 10 from the white 25-yard line. So you've got, this is a necessary evil. You want to do this game because it's on television. You want to do it for your fan base. You want to do it usually for recruiting, right? This is a good recruiting tool. You realize that this is not, you're going to be so vanilla. You're not going to get a whole lot from this film other than putting people under the lights in Tiger Stadium and see some of how these young kids react. Baseball score. Can you get us up to date, Alec Box?
Now it is 2-2 in the top of the 7th. South Carolina able to push 2 runs after A.J. Levis goes out of the game. Devin Fontenot comes in, and the guy hits a double, scores 2. So now 2-2 in the top of the 7th.
Nussmeier there on 3rd and check that, make it 2nd and 10. Great job being patient, stepping up in the pocket, and throwing the ball to Mashburn, the tight end, on about a 9-yard dig route. Unfortunately, he couldn't hold on to it. Sets up 3rd and 10 now from the 25-yard line. Doug, your thoughts on Nussmeier there?
I want to give you a thought on somebody else,
sure.
Mason Smith. And the reason I want to tell you that is because he is number 0. Now, if he had double zeros, this would even be more dramatic. But looking back 2 plays ago, after the play was over, he was over on the sideline running down Nussmeier. Yeah. That was pretty impressive. Here's a guy who's a defensive lineman. He's running down a quarterback who's got great quickness. As he's walking back to the huddle, to the defensive huddle, he looks about twice as wide as any of the other defensive players, and they're all a bunch of wide guys. I mean, this is a man, and he's just a high school freshman, high school senior right now.
Nussmeier in a fantastic deep post route to Kirkland. Kirkland takes it in, makes a move, dodges the defender, but loses control of the ball. It's a turnover as the white team recovers. 2 back-to-back outstanding passes from Nussmeier to Kirkland there. Unfortunately, Kirkland couldn't hold on to the second one.
He does a really nice job of reading the coverage and putting the ball where he had to. And, again, like we've talked about it, Garrett Nussmeier, I know he's an early enrollee. I know he's still supposed to be in high school, but you can tell, like Doug mentioned, this is someone that is polished. That's not typically a throw that you see a true freshman to have really the nerve to even make that throw.
Especially coming after the interception, which was a bad pass. Right. I think he was looking at man. He was zone. He had Samp the linebacker in the hands. Right there, he held in the pocket on the last 2 plays, stood up in there strong, poised, Doug, and delivered the pass before, which was a 3-level flood route over here. Kirkland was running a corner route. He had some gas on that football. Really good-looking throws back-to-back by Nussmeier.
And to come off of a badly thrown pass and make 2 really good ones.
Yes.
I mean, that's the key. You don't want to have the badly thrown pass and you fall apart after it. You want to come back and you look like an all-star, and he certainly has done that.
That's why I like not phased. And look, first time in Tiger Stadium, spring football game, not a good throw for an interception, and you come back firing away. You really like to see that. So here's our situation. 56 seconds left in the second quarter. White leading 9-0 now. Has the ball after that turnover near midfield. We'll call it the purple 28, just on the other side. And it's Brennan still at quarterback and Davis Price in the backfield. I think Davis Price has got to go a whole way. LSU looks like they've just dressed out 2 running backs. So it'll be interesting to see if Brennan can move the Tigers down the field. He'll check it down to Davis Price for about a 3-yard pickup on a little simple out route there, and with the clock running. Timeout as Coach White team. I guess Coach O can call a timeout for both teams. Guys, we're going to talk about the defense. At halftime, we're going to talk about the defensive coaching changes. Perhaps we'll dig a little deeper in 2020. We knew going into it, Jacob, that Durante Jones was going to be aggressive, and he wasn't going to show much today. So we weren't going to see a whole lot here to talk about today.
No, you're not going to see what the game plan is going to look like. And, again, you said it. We knew that. But it's been from the spring practices and talking with the players themselves. They say the number one thing that they've seen is the communication's better. And also, this is someone that they can relate with. You know, they've had conversations with him. He feels like from day one he steps in and you felt there was this trust when last year there was not trust on this defense. And so the players are excited about it. This is someone that comes in with a high pedigree, NFL coaching experience, college coaching experience, and everyone you talk to can kind of give you, look, this is a stamp of approval for what he's able to do. So you're not going to see it today, but it's been seen in practice, and hopefully it's seen in the fall.
Brennan trying to throw a deep post route there, broken up by Jordan Tolles, the second-year safety, I believe, out of Maryland. So brings up 3rd and 9, 42 seconds. White team at the purple 48-yard line. Be nice to see Miles get it down here, at least get a shot at field goal, get some points on the board here. And again, if you're just joining us, it was Max Johnson that took all the snaps in the first quarter for the white team, and Brennan came in for the second quarter. Finley started in the first quarter for the purple team, and it was Nussmeier that has played the second quarter for the purple team. Miles scrambles, is able to get about 8-9 yards. It'll set up a fourth and long one from the purple 44-yard line. We're at about 30 seconds. So Coach O using those timeouts here in the spring game. You don't see all the timeouts being taken, Doug, usually in the spring game.
Well, he's going to have to come up with the big play right now. 30 seconds remaining. The ball's at the 43-yard line of the opposition, and it's 4th down. So what are you going to do? Are you going to try to get the 1 yard for the first down and give up all of the 30 seconds and the half expires? Or are you going to come up with the big play, take a shot at the Hail Mary, and maybe that's the better choice?
Jacob, I'm going to let you. You got the headset, my friend. You're out of timeouts, 30 seconds left, 4th and 1 from the purple 40, I'll give you the 43-yard line.
Yeah, this one's tough, and especially if you're LSU, because in a real game, and I'm not even joking, in a real game, you have a kicker that would have a chance to make this field goal. But, again, if you miss it, obviously you give them the ball at midfield, and in a regular season game, it depends on the flow of the game right now. Obviously, in a spring game, you're going to go for it, but that is like a real decision LSU would have to make. You know, do you kick the field goal? Do you punt it? Do you go for it? I like being aggressive. I think Coach O has shown in his tenure here at LSU he will be aggressive.
Yeah. So here we go. Brennan is back in shotgun. They are empty. No running back on the field. 5 receivers. Trips up top. Twins down here to the bottom. Got to imagine some sort of quick slant. And actually, it's an out route, quick little out route, high percentage pass. It is completed to Dre Jenkins. Move the chains. White now has the ball at the 39. They'll go quickly.
First down for the Tigers.
Brennan with a fake spike. I like the call. They're going to throw the go route down the field to Boutte. He catches it. Touchdown. How about that for the spring game, Jacob?
The old Dan Marino.
Dan Marino, Miami, New York Jets.
Yeah, a little fake spike there.
You don't save that. They pulled that out, so that one's out there.
that is out there. You're exactly right. Teams have, but it's something else they have to work on. Hey, why not? I like it because, as you know, when you do the spike motion, everybody sets and everybody looks like they relax, and no, we're going to throw the ball down the field.
So
how about that?
How about giving some credit to Keyshawn Boutte for the catch, though?
It was a great catch.
He goes there and uses his body to knock the defender off of the ball and grabs it at the same time, which is an almost impossible catch. That's the Jamar Chase guy.
Well, what you like about that play, that didn't come in from the sideline. That's Brennan, and that's in your playbook, right? And that's part of your repertoire and your ability to just go ahead and call that.
Right.
I think if I'm Pete Ogeron, we might save that a little bit. We don't want to play that, but they did it, and it worked, and so good for Brennan there. As that is going to, looks like we're at halftime, so we're going to wait for the red hat to come out. We're close to halftime. So with that, the extra point was good. The White leads 16-0. We've got about a 10-minute halftime. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about some of the defensive changes and things going on here in Baton Rouge and talk about 2020 and what went wrong with the defense. It's halftime. 16-0. White leads over the purple. It is the National L Club Spring Game on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
Can't happen and was not supposed to have happened.
Yeah,
I think that's been corrected an awful lot. this year in the spring.
Doug, you're right. We were supposed to social distance last year, but not on the football field. And that's what it looked like sometimes. Look at the Missouri game. It's like, guys, you can be around this receiver. So that comes down to communication, though. That comes down to knowing what your responsibilities are, right? That's not a talent. The Missouri receiver didn't beat you by 30 yards, and he's the only guy in the screen. It sounds like a simple part of the game, but, Gordy, you play defensive back. You know, one thing gets lost in translation, then everything breaks down.
Well, you and I talked about it on our CST show. As many times as we looked at film, it was hard to determine what LSU was playing.
It was.
It was that so bad of a bust. It was almost like people were playing different defenses. I think they were. Two new coaches on that side, linebackers, Blake Baker, defensive line, Andre Carter. Jake?
All right, so Blake Baker, that is a big get for LSU. He is someone that, again, has Louisiana ties, playing at Tulane, knowing the state. His wife played soccer at LSU, so he knows the state of Louisiana. That's big in recruiting. But he's also been a defensive coordinator within the state at Louisiana Tech, so that helps him as well, having the play-calling ability to be able to lend his voice to Durante Jones. And then he's been in Miami. I mean, he's a defensive coordinator at Miami as well. So that part of it, him wanting to be here and having that experience is important. And look, Andre Carter, we'll see what kind of coach he is. I think he's a really good coach. He's been on the NFL at the NFL ranks, but I just remember him as a player more than anything, okay? Because I had to block the guy. So as good of a coach as I think he's going to be, I can't get him the player out of my mind because he was a guy with a high motor. One of those guys you have to pass protect until the final whistle because he's trying everything he can to get to the quarterback. And I'll tell you what, those days against the Patriots and Raiders when he was playing for those two teams were long days.
Oh, absolutely. A couple stats here as we'll look at the stat line here. Maz Brennan for the white team, 11 of 15 for 106 yards with a touchdown. Max Johnson, 4 of 10 for just 60 in the first quarter. On the other side for the purple, Garrett Nussmeier, 7 of 12 but 1 interception, 55 yards. TJ Finley, 4 of 9, 1 interception as well for 48 yards. As we start with the white team with the football, and I believe that Finley in at quarterback, so they're going to flip some teams here and try to give everybody a look. So this will be Finley going, I believe, with the number 1 offense. And it is. And just a little zone read inside to Davis Price. As it starts to rain a little bit here, Doug, we were worried about getting this game in today. We got a half without any precipitation, but not the case now.
Well, and they've changed the rules here for the second half. We weren't sure at halftime whether they were going to play a regular football rules. Doesn't look like they're going to. This is a 12-minute running clock for the third quarter, likewise for the fourth quarter. Now, they can change that because, Coach O can do whatever he wants in his spring game.
Sure.
But I anticipate that's the way it's going to be, and maybe they timed it to get the raindrops out of the way.
On 2nd and 11, looks like Finley's going to hit Adams, or check that, make that Coy Moore for about a 5-yard out route, little sticker out. Set up 3rd and 6. Go ahead, Jake.
Another guy that we do need to point out, Sony Fanu, playing here on the defensive line. He's a guy that's kind of moves back and forth from outside edge guy to a stack backer. But Coach O pointed him out last week to me and T-Bob on the airwaves, and he's made a couple plays today. He calls the fumble down there of Ty Davis Price on the goal line. He just makes a play there. That's a player that we kind of forget about. He came over. He was an older player from the JUCO ranks. He's been here a long time. This is his 3rd year there, and it does seem like he adds again to what? The defensive line. I mean, the depth there is truly remarkable.
Yeah, we're going to stay on the defensive side as Finley is able to move the chains with a little in route in the middle of the football field to John Trey Kirkland. That's going to set up white 1st and 10 from the purple 42. Let's go big scheme, Jacob. What are we expecting Durante Jones defensively, if you're to characterize what we're going to see defensively when we get to the fall?
I think you'll see a mixture of coverages. I don't think you're going to be just a guy that says, hey, we're going to play quarters coverage, keep everything in front of us, and try to be a passive defense. You're going to know who he is. He's going to have multiple coverages. I think he's going to be aggressive just talking to him. It does seem like he is going to, ask a lot of his linebackers not only to be able to stop the run, but to cover and to rush as well. And so I expect it to be a multiple defense with a guy that's going to press the envelope a little bit, be a little bit more aggressive than you've seen.
You're obviously an NFL guy. You're familiar with a lot of the coaches up there. When I say the name Mike Zimmer, what come for you?
So Mike Zimmer, look, I said it before, this is a guy like the defensive back coach in the NFL. That's where he made his hay before he became a defensive coordinator, before he became a head coach. And what he does is he asks his defensive backs to play a lot of man coverage. I'm talking about cover 1 man, cover 2 man. He's going to ask you your own, right? And he'll give you some help, but he also expects you to be able to handle any receiver, any goes at you. He asks a lot of those defensive backs. And so, like there, we just saw 1 man. Like, we're going to see things like that. And last year, it was really more of a you played man, but you only stayed in man. You didn't show the zone. You didn't really switch up anything you do. Here, we've seen 3 different coverages on 3 different plays.
No, absolutely. And the great thing is having a chance to watch a defense here. He's been able to do a lot of different things out of the same look, right? And you see a whole lot of man-free look in which everybody looks like they're on a man at the line of scrimmage, 5 to 6 yards off, not necessarily press, and there's 1 free safety in the middle of the football field, yet we've seen a lot of different things. One guy that's jumped up, Doug, for us, McLaughlin, number 2, has had a whale of a football game, 4 pass breakups, and we're early in the third quarter.
And he's a real tackler out there in the secondary, and that's something you don't always see with a defensive back. Sometimes they just kind of grab on and hang until the other guy trips himself. This guy, McLaughlin, is a hitter in the secondary, so he's broken up some passes just with contact and caused incompletion several times just during the course of this game.
It's been an interesting spring and storyline and on that side of the ball. Of course, Eli Ricks had a great year a year ago. Has been absent, a good point. And then you've got McLaughlin that's played well. And the move of Jay Ward from corner to safety, Jacob.
Yeah, look, you talk about playing cover 1 free. Well, a guy like Jay Ward back there playing that free safety, he can thrive against anything that you do as far as being able to have those coverage skills. So that is an added thing that you can add to your defense, having a corner back there playing. If you're going to be a 1-free team, if you can do that. But also, the question you're going to ask is, playing free safety, can he be aggressive enough? How's his tackling skills in open space? But he's shown to do really well in that category, which is important because the coverage skills are going to be there, but you also have to be able to come downhill and stop the run as well.
One of the key things about being a free safety, you are the quarterback of the defense. And look, corners probably one of the simpler positions on the football field. Either you're in man or you're getting the call from a safety, and you got 1 or 2 things to do. So that is a transition. He becomes the quarterback of the defense back there.
No, without question. I mean, that's why Todd Harris is important for this team as well.
Right.
For Todd Harris to be able to come back and to help this team at the safety position, because Todd's been here for so long, because you direct everyone. You get everyone in the right positions. And last year, we just did not see that. We did not see guys in the right position. And, again, the communication, the pre-snap movement, it got everything out of whack. And the free safety back there is the guy that can calm the storm. He can get everybody on the right page.
Turnover on downs. Purple takes over at the 50-yard line, and on first down, Nick Damus, running back, goes on just a little inside zone for about a 3-yard pickup, setting up 2nd and 7. Let's talk about the linebacker position. And obviously, that I think there's some questions there, and rightfully so. Micah Baskerville is not here this spring. He played some good football. Let's start with number 35, Damone Clark, after really a disappointing year.
Number 18, Damone Clark.
I'm sorry, number 18. I do apologize.
See, look at you there, Gordy.
You know, I don't give you 18 guys enough respect.
But, okay, so Damone Clark is a guy that LSU fans will remember in 2019 being a heck of a football player. There was a lot to like there. He was aggressive. He was good in coverage. He rushed the quarterback extremely well. That went to the wayside in 2020. He didn't forget how to play football, right? And again, it's not making excuses. He was not put in position to succeed, in my opinion. It was real passive play. We know Damone Clark is not a passive linebacker, so that was something that was being taught by the defensive staff there. And so I want to see him get back to being the Damone Clark that we know. Downhill, I'm a thumper. I'm athletic enough to be able to cover you. I'm athletic enough to be able to rush the quarterback and have success there as well, because he is maybe the most key person on this LSU defense.
Doug, number 10 right there, Josh White, we saw a little bit of from a year ago, is a really good talent out of Texas. They're expecting for him to be in the middle of this competition as well.
Well, and they need that, too. They certainly need some depth and somebody that has the ability not only to carry the football, but to be a receiver out of the backfield. We've talked about that so often, but football has become that. It used to be in the old days, and even older than your days, Gordy. I'm talking about my old days. You had a running back. He was a runner, and he got in a position where he could receive the handoff from the quarterback, and that's what he did. Sometimes he pass blocked, but most of the time he was a runner. Nowadays, the guy who is the runner is oftentimes more of a receiver, but what he is versatile. He can play every position back there, put so much pressure on the defense, and boy, what a great reception this is. I say reception.
Let me call it for you as you're talking Max Johnson on a play action.
Great interception.
Got hooked up with Jonte Kirkland on a deep crossing route for a touchdown as Kirkland was able to get behind the secondary and a little bit of a coverage breakdown. There's no way that he should have gotten behind that secondary, but it is a touchdown for the purple team. PAT to come. So nice job, Max Johnson, being patient and allowing for this play to develop a little bit. Kirkland getting a penalty for spiking. You're not able to spike. I think you get away in the spring game. You're not run gassers.
He earned that. That's okay.
Right, and so we'll see.
2,000 on the play.
Uh-oh.
Pass interference defense. And penalties decline. After the touchdown, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 13, is first of the game. That penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
Okay, so the touchdown will stand. It's now 16-6.
I don't know if I've seen a celebration penalty in a spring game.
In a spring game.
That's
the question is, will he have to run gassers on Monday morning?
He did say it was his first of the game, so if he does it again, is he kicked out of the spring game?
Would you intentionally want to get kicked out of the spring
if
game?
It starts raining, could we see him potentially try to get another?
It would cross my mind just to try to get out of the spring game, but look, nice job by Johnson getting there. To finish with the linebackers, there are a couple other names here, and we'll see if ESPN's going to break for a timeout because we'll have to follow suit, and they are. So with that, let's take a timeout. Actually, no, we got the roll 'em. Keep it, Brain. I do apologize, so we keep it here. 16-7, White over the purple. 6:29 remaining in the third quarter at Tiger Stadium. There's been a whole lot of buzz about this name, Bug Strong, JUCO transfer from Mississippi. Jacob, you had a chance to see him out there, and I know Coach O's real high on him.
Every time we've had a conversation with Coach O or any of the defensive coaches, his name has come up. Anytime we've talked with the defensive players, Bug Strong's name has come up. So this is someone that has captivated the team in his short time here at LSU, and they label him as a thumper, like a true old-school thumping linebacker. You might not see him out there on third downs, but first and second down, he is coming downhill, and he's coming downhill to hit you right in the face mask. And I love guys like that. I love the tone setters, guys that aren't afraid to stick their helmet in there and really let their presence be felt. You talk with Blake Baker, the linebackers coach, he just gleams. Anytime that you bring his name up, you can tell that this is like the ultimate linebackers coach linebacker. So I'm expecting big things from him. And you pair him with a guy like a Damone Clark, like a Michael Baskerville, who are kind of guys that can do all the coverage things, right? So Bug Strong doesn't have to be that. The room needed a guy like Bug Strong. The room needed a veteran guy that could come in and give some depth to this LSU defense.
Right now, set the table for you here. White has the football on their own 20, or actually on the purple 25. TJ Finley back in quarterback, second down, run play goes nowhere. Two other names I wanted to throw at you on the linebacker position. Xavier Carter from Atlanta, Georgia. He has been here and early enrolled for spring ball. And one other name we'll keep an eye on, Greg Penn, inside linebacker type from Maryland that will be coming in the summer. He's not one of the guys that were a January enrollee. So LSU linebacker position is one, I think, to be watched. Obviously, Clark stepping up, and they're expecting Strong to be a part of it. And, of course, what we don't know, Doug, is you got to imagine in this day and age with all the offenses in the SEC, you usually just have two linebackers on the field anyway. You're going to play a whole lot of nickel and dime.
Well, you need to have guys who can cover the pass, whether it's a linebacker or you're going to use a safety, but they have to be able to cover receivers come out of the backfield. Game's changed so much just in the last couple of years. All of the options that the offensive now have, back in those days, and I refer to to those days because football has changed so much. But it used to be that defenses would line up, and their goal is to keep the offense from gaining yardage, and the offense would line up, and their goal was to knock the defensive line off the line of scrimmage. That ain't the way it is anymore. It is now a game of options. The defense wants to have options that they don't have to exercise until the play starts. The offense wants likewise. And they have a lot of the offensive quarterbacks don't have to make a decision until the play starts, and that really puts some stress on the defense.
Also, a guy that we have not really talked about is Mike Jones coming over from Clemson.
Right. That's right.
He has had a lot of experience. Obviously, Clemson is a big-time program. He has played in the playoffs. He has played in championship games, and he is someone that kind of fits the mold of what Doug's talking about, right? He's 218 pounds. He has real coverage skills. You can use him like you did Jabril Cox a year ago.
Right.
That you're basically a nickel linebacker, right? You're the in-between of playing a nickel, playing a safety, and playing a linebacker. You're all those positions rolled into one, and this day and age in football, you have to have that guy. And with that much experience, he is going to play a factor in this LSU defense.
Purple team now back with the football. Max Johnson at quarterback at the white 40-yard line. Again, we're 16-7, 5.5 left here in the third quarter in Tiger Stadium. Johnson, play action, is going to run for about 4 or 5 yards, take it out of bounds here on the near sideline, set up a 2nd and 5. So we talked about the linebacker position. We've talked about the defensive secondary, or rather the defensive front, which I think all of us agree is one of the strengths of this football team with the numbers they return there. Let's move on to the secondary, and let's start with Derek Stingley Jr. Missed the opener and certainly did not have the season that he had as a true freshman. Your thoughts about, Jacob, I'll start with you, about 2020 for Stingley, and obviously this is a pivotal year for him.
Yeah, you want to see him fully healthy. Last year he was in and out of the lineup. We know who he is. He's the best cover corner in college football. So you want to see him go out there and be that. And you also, I think you want to see him become more of a leader. Not to say that he's not been a leader,
right,
but maybe even more of a vocal leader because he's kind of led by example. This guy has the talent that when he talks, everyone's going to listen. So you'd like to see him become that guy that calls the defense up if things aren't going right, to be that passionate leader, because I think he has that in him, right? It hasn't been his personality to this point, but now that he's an older player, because when you have someone that's a generational type talent, they are going to listen to every word that you say. So I'd like to see him make that move because we know what he can do on the field as a player.
1st and 10, Johnson on a beautiful little corner route to Kirkland for about 26 yards. Let's call it 24 yards. Going to set up 1st and 10 at the white 26-yard line. Let's go back to McLaughlin, who played, as we mentioned, Dwight McLaughlin played against Texas A&M and had the big game against Florida. Doug, he's been the MVP for the defense of the spring football game.
Well, he's a guy that is a dramatic tackler, and that's important in the secondary. When you have a guy that can come up, those receivers remember who hits them after they catch the football, or more important, who hits them as they're trying to catch the football.
Right.
You remember that as the game goes along, and McLaughlin is one of those rare guys in the secondary that is able to impose that type of lick on receivers. One of the artistic things you have to do in the secondary these days is because they call penalties so much on good contact in the secondary, you got to be able to do it and do it in such a way that you're going to get away with it.
There's a beautiful crossing route down there by the purple team. Runs a crossing route. Johnson's able to hit. That looks like Kirkland on the sideline for a corner route touchdown, as the purple now draws to 16-13. Johnson picking up where he left off against Ole Miss, looking really smooth here in the third quarter, Doug.
And that's what you need to have. You know, we talked about the quarterbacks and the competition, and the quarterback showing a little more here in the second half, which we got about 3 minutes remaining in the third quarter, and the second half is running much more quickly, but LSU's quarterbacks are starting to impose themselves. I think they're given a little more freedom in the passing game to try to actually complete passes.
Absolutely. We're going to keep it here as ESPN has given us the run clock sign. Jacob, take us back to that touchdown play again. Something out of the 2019 playbook to me. Just a little, you got man coverage, a little rub route. They're able to pick off a defensive back.
I mean, rub routes are something that you can use to your advantage if you know exactly how to run them, right? There's an art to running a rub route. I mean, you know this, G.
Yep.
You have to be able to sell it and not get called for the penalty. But if you can do that, if you have guys that understand the concepts of how you go about doing that, then you can have guys like that where the quarterback has an easy throw. All he has to do is lead him right into the end zone because there's 6 yards of separation. So nice job by Jontre running that route, and then Max putting enough air under the ball.
We're going to get back to the secondary discussion because we got to talk about Eli Ricks, but I want to finish on what we've just seen some success in the passing game. Two things, guys, that jumped out about me in 2019. I thought Joe Brady brought to LSU, besides obviously Sean Payton's offense, was a high intensity, a high motor that I thought the players responded to,
yeah.
And really attention to detail in route running. Brady was really, really involved with that, and you know, I always talk about the slant route, just being able to run a slant route, the right number of steps, and just a little flip of the elbow and not a push-off, that it would be legal. I mean, this is high-level stuff that the NFL teams do, and I'm looking forward to a return of some of that on the football field. Not that the receiver play was shabby a year ago. Again,
going back to my experience in the NFL, those are things you work on.
Yeah.
You work on the right way to run a rub route. Right? Some people might say, oh, it's cheating. No, it's not. Not if you do it right. If you do it right,
that's right,
it is a part of the game, and you're exactly right. Like when I run a slant, I've got to run it for my quarterback. I have to do the small little things that make me get open and not for the receiver to be able to undercut any route that I run. You have to have that, right? If the route is an 18-yard dig route, it's not a 14-yard dig route because your quarterback is throwing it to a spot. LSU didn't have that. And then Joe Brady comes in, and there is attention to detail in every single route that you run. Like, you don't want to drift. Like on this completion right here to Jenkins, well, he didn't drift. It was a drag route. He stayed down the line, so the quarterback's able to put it on a spot because you're trying to keep it away from that defensive backs.
And outside last year of Marshall, and it was a new group of receivers. Look, 19, you had veteran receivers. Outside of Marshall, consistent at times in the first half of the year with some route running. And I think
drop balls, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The drops were a part of it. Let's get back to the game here. So 3rd and 2 now. White team with Finley under center. They're at the purple they're at their own 34-yard line. Ty Davis-Price breaks through the center. Huge gain, 22, make it 23 yards. So good to see Ty Davis-Price up and running. He had a lot of injuries a year ago. Doug, it's nice to have a healthy campaign out of the big running back from Southern Lab.
And he's got to stay healthy because there are not very many of them yet. When the freshmen come in, hopefully there will be 1 or 2 people that can help the running backs, and you end up with 3 or 4 people capable of the runs like Ty Davis-Price just now made.
1st and 10, white team is there driving now in purple territory. The empty, once again, we've seen a lot of empty today. Finley back at his own 50-yard line from the pocket, very comfortable and poised. He's going to throw it down the field in a double coverage, looking for Boutte, and that ball is going to be interception. Ill-advised pass. That'll be his 2nd interception. And I'm looking for, was that Stingley?
It was Stingley.
Derek Stingley.
All right, Stingley started with the white, and he's on purple. And that was just a bad read. I think he thought he had man coverage. They're sitting back in zone, Jake.
So he also had Coy Moore coming across the field on a drag route that was wide open. That Coy Moore takes that and goes 15 yards before he's touched. So those are things that TJ has to continue to work on. We know you have the arm strength, but you do not have to show it every time that you drop back, right? Take the crosser. Coy Moore right there is going to pick up the first down. Instead, you throw it to double coverage to try to make the deep throw. Those are things that if it's not there, your eyes have to come back down to the secondary level, and those are things TJ has to continue to work on.
Well, he didn't see Stingley. Yeah, and I think in man coverage, you can lead, and the way he threw that ball is as if he was leading it versus man coverage. So purple gets it coming out of their own end zone on the 6th, and will be Max Johnson at quarterback. Guys, let's finish our discussion on the secondary. Eli Ricks, unbelievable true freshman year, not here today. Where are we?
Again, like we said, Derek Stingley is the best corner cover in college football, right? Well, Elias Ricks is right there with him.
Yep.
Like when you look at the grades from a year ago, they were number 1 and number 3 in the country. right? And those guys are coming back. And so having him out there is so crucial, because if you have Stingley and you have Ricks, you truly, Gordy, have shut down the outside of the football field.
No doubt.
And so now all you have to worry about is one section of the football field. So it is a game changer. And if you have guys like Jay Ward continue to step up, McGothern continue to step up, it eases your pains. Like, you don't have as many problems when you have two shutdown corners, because I don't know of another team in the country that can roll out two corners like that. In fact, there's not two other corners like that teams can roll out. So having him back and getting him healthy and having him play with that confidence that he played with a year ago, that I just can't tell you what that does for LSU secondary.
On 2nd and 8, Johnson's able to hit Deion Smith on a slant route, move the chains. On 1st down, Roy is going to sack him for a 4-yard loss. So 5th or 6th penetration for the defensive line. Doug, you continue to be impressed. D-line has gotten pressure, and I do you realize LSU's been pretty one-dimensional today, but they've got penetration.
Well, that's the kind of play the defensive linemen have to make throughout the course of a game. When you make that play that turns the tide in the game, it changes the line of scrimmage.
And with that, Doug, let me interrupt. It's the end of the 3rd quarter. 16-14, white over the purple. We'll come back for the 4th quarter on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
Live coverage continues from Tiger Stadium and the National L Club Spring Game, presented by Tony Sacheries on the LSU Sports Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. 16-14, white over the purple, 11 minutes, 12 seconds left in the 4th quarter. We got us a ball game. Here's we had some points getting scored in the 3rd quarter. Max Johnson has brought the purple team back. So, Doug, this might be one of the more exciting spring games we've been a part of.
Well, they're going to try to finish it that way, because what people will remember is what they see in the last quarter.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what they expect for next fall.
Everybody remembers Florida and Ole Miss last year. There's been a whole lot of excitement here.
So when's the shoe going to come off in this game?
Do you remember that? It seems like yesterday. We were sitting in the fog. You weren't at that game, Doug. Good thing you weren't, because you couldn't see a thing. Blair, Bowser, and all those guys with the fog. So here we go. White has the football on their own 25, and it will be Johnson at actually check that, Nussmeier at quarterback. You can give it off to Ty Davis Price. No running room. Actually lose a yard. They'll call it 2nd 11. Jacob, let's go to the safety position. It was a concern a year ago. Safety play was confused. It goes along with the defense. I don't think anybody get lined up. I don't think Todd Harris was ever 100% healthy. What's the status of the safety position?
Yeah, you'd like to get Todd Harris back to full health. Obviously, he had that devastating injury in 19. He's never really come back and been the same guy, and hopefully you can get him back to being healthy, because we know what kind of player he is. I mean, you go all the way back to 2018 and he was a starter on this football team, so they think a lot of him, but you got to get him back and you got to get him healthy. So hopefully kind of sitting out this spring will do so, because he's very important. Him, along with the guy we talked about a lot today, N.J. Ward, are going to be the leaders back there, and you've got a Cam Lewis who has been here for 5 years. You have Jordan Tolles, who got a little bit of run last year, but you'd like to see more from him as well. And then Derek Davis is an early enrollee. He is a true freshman. Obviously, they have a lot of faith in here. Coming down from Pennsylvania, Coach O has talked a lot about him and said kind of, hey, we don't know where he's going to play, but he's going to play somewhere. He's kind of gone back and forth a couple of different times, but they can get true talent out of a guy like that, and then they get veteran guys like Jay Ward, who we see make a play here, and other guys like Todd Harris. That is a position that needs someone to step up. It was the position last year that probably struggled the most.
3rd and 11, Nussmeier drops back, and he and a receiver just not on the same page. Hits Jay Ward, the safety, just talked about in the hands. It's an interception. Purple team's going to take over on their on the white 41-yard line, and they're simply miscommunication. Doug, I think that Nussmeier's expecting the receiver to break that route off. He ran a vertical.
But Jay Ward took advantage of it, and that's the important thing. Rather than let the ball fall to the ground, he decided that he was going to make the interception, come over from the safety spot in the secondary, and gave great field position to the Purple at the 43-yard line. 9:52 remaining in this game.
So Miles Brennan now is going to be the second quarterback for the Purple this half. So basically, both he and Max Johnson played with the white in the first half. They flipped over. And now with the Purple team, Brennan, play action pass. He's going to go for it all, going for Kirkland down the field. Incomplete. Double coverage there, but a good ball by Brennan. Kirkland just could not get underneath it at the 3-yard line. Two other incoming freshmen, Jacob at the safety position, keep an eye on. Matthew Langway had a great career up at Catholic, Point Capilla, New Roads. And then Sage Ryan, five-star safety out of Lafayette Christian.
So Sage Ryan is a guy that I think all LSU high school football fans know about. He has been on the scene for a very long time, and he was a big get. He was a big recruit. He was a top safety in the country, so getting him to sign with LSU was one that was met with joy. So that position, I'm not going to sit here and pump sunshine. That one's tough. It's tough to transition from high school to the college ranks and be effective from day one,
sure,
but it doesn't mean you can't be effective within the season. There's a lot of moving parts at that position. As we saw last year, there can be some confusion, but he is a guy with the skill set that he will get some run. They'll find a way to get him involved in the game plan, and as he grows and as he continues to learn, now we start talking about the middle part, maybe the end of the season, you will see Sage Ryan have an impact.
Second and 10, Brennan incomplete on a crossing route to Kirkland. It's going to set up 3rd and 10, 9:27 remaining. We had a running clock. Looks like they're going to stop it a little bit here in the fourth quarter. Brennan is behind center. Empty formation. They're going to blow this dead. False start.
Offense number 13. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
Push it back, make it 3rd and 16. Unfortunately, we have a final from the box. Jacob, LSU loses game one.
They lose game one, 4-2 to South Carolina. They went into the 7th, of course, doubleheader, so 7-inning games. They went into the 7th with the lead, were not able to hold on. South Carolina escapes game 2 with the victory. Now all tied up at 1 with game 3, I believe, starting in an hour, G.
All right, 3rd and 14 now for the Purple team from the white 48-yard line. Let's see if Miles Brennan can respond to the fantastic third quarter that Max Johnson had. Crossing route in the middle of the field, incomplete, looking for Kirkland, broken up in the middle of that zone coverage right at the first down marker. So we're going to have a punt, and ball's going to go back over the white side. Fill me in, Doug, your thoughts on the quarterback position. Who's jumped out at you?
I'll take it first. Nussmeier, I think, looks very polished for his age, but his age is mighty young, so he's got some growing up to do, but he will do it, I think, and he's halfway there. T.J. Finley, I didn't think has had a great game. Erratic is that word that I've used several times, and he's shown that today. Max Johnson, I thought, good.
Really good third quarter. The two scoring drives there.
And Miles Brennan, I think, he started to come back. It's been a long time since he's played with live bullets. And I thought he did some good things today. He looks more grown up. He's thicker. He's put on some weight. Looks like he's got more confidence there behind center.
I'm with you with that. Jacob, white team is going to take the ball back over down in their own end. coming out, I believe, the 12-yard line, so we'll see a little bit more of Nussmeier. And that's something that's jumped out about Nussmeier. I'm with you, Doug. Very poised, under control, even when he's made some errant throws, but real confident in what he's doing back there.
I will say one of the things that makes this quarterback battle intriguing, all the guys are different.
Mm-hmm.
You have 4 guys that have 4 different skill sets, and so it's not like you have the same 3 guys out there. I mean, they kind of all have different abilities. They have different strengths, different weaknesses, and that's what makes this so intriguing is the fact that you have to find the one that fits your offense the best. You have to find the guy that fits what Jake Peetz wants his offense to look like the best. And so what skill set is going to play in my offense is the decision that Jake Peetz and staff have to make.
There's a great example. Nussmeier just had a little bootleg there and had Keishon Butte for about a 12-yard completion, moved the chains on 1st and 10 from their own 30. Nussmeier forced out of the pocket. He just throws it up in the stands. They'll play 2nd and 10. And, I think that is – interesting when you think about this offense in 2019. I think
holding, defense number 24, 10-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Derek Stingley Jr. called for holding. That'll move the chains to about 10 yards.
5 yards for holding, automatic first.
5 yards. Check that. So it'll be first and 10 from the 40-yard line for the white team coming out of their own end. The thing that made I thought Burrow so well in this offense, and even Drew Brees in the New Orleans Saints offense, Doug, was his ability to just move around a little pocket and find seams. Not necessarily don't have to be a runner. I think that's a bonus, but ability to move in the pocket because so many people, this offense, you're putting 5 receivers out there, and so many people getting after you.
Well, it's not necessary to be a runner, but it helps if you can do it. And Joe Burrow did that. I mean, he made runs when he needed to. He had some speed, he had the ability to run with people, even outrun some people, but he also was able to make decisions about when to do it. And I think that gives the advantage to 2 of these guys, Johnson and Nussmeier.
Yep.
They have the ability to run a little bit better than the other 2. So the other 2 are going to have to be dramatically improved as passers because they don't have that one extra set of skill.
On 1st and 10, Nussmeier rolls to his left. The ball is caught but out of bounds, so incomplete pass. 2nd and 10 now for the white team from their own 40-yard line. 8:25 remaining. A little slant route, nice pass. Just a little, that looks something a la 2019. Just a little pick route there as Boutte is out of the wide receiver, comes in on a slant. Easy 5 yards, Jake.
Yeah, defense in one free again. I'll go back to it. You're not going to see a plethora of coverages or defenses here. It's kind of what they've settled on today. But still, against that coverage, you've got to be able to run a good route and fit it in a tight window, which is what Nuss did there.
3rd and 5. Nussmeier from the shotgun.
Did
intercepted. Is that Samp again? Or
no, it's
actually
Jared Small.
Out of Catholic High. Intercepted Nussmeier. Second time.
Yeah.
He's hit the linebacker and did not see the linebacker in coverage. Linebacker's playing zone. Doesn't see him. An interception. And again, we talk about this, a young guy, Doug, and he's going to learn.
Look,
go ahead.
Well, here's what you saw. You saw a lot of one free leading up to that. And then when they get out of it, then the quarterback, as a young player, you assume, they're playing one free. They're going to play man across the board for the entire series. Well, then they switch it up on you because in college they're not going to stay the same. And so it's going to fool a young player. That linebacker wasn't in that throwing window the play before or even the previous 3 plays.
No, good call on that. And, again, I mentioned that he had another one of those in the first half in which he did not see the linebacker. So now the purple trailing in this game, 16-14. They are in business at the white 15-yard line. It is Miles Brennan back in at quarterback for the purple team.
And by the way, it teaches you a little about coaches. The team that has 2 points less than the other team is probably given a little more leeway in what kind of coverages they're going to be able to run.
Tell me about Nick Demas. Number 35 has gotten a lot of touches here, Jacob. Now we know Emery's out and Bradford's out and everybody else is out other than Ty Davis-Price. He's gotten a lot of touches there as he stopped for no gain on 1st down.
Yeah, I think Coach O said he had 30-something carries in a scrimmage earlier this spring because you've been so banged up at the position. But he's been holding his own. Look, he's getting some run, and we've talked about it in the spring. Normally he would not, but he's getting it because of injuries and other things, and this is where you can find your spot on the team. This is where you might not be playing running back. In fact, you're probably not going to be playing running back in the fall. But what you can do, Gordy, as you know, you can parlay that into being a guy that travels and is on special teams.
No question.
That's what I love to see from spring. Guys step up when they have the opportunity to become a part of the team.
On second and breaks through and sacks Brennan for an 8-yard loss. It's going to set up third and check that 6-yard loss. Set up third and 16. Purple from the white 21-yard line. Doug, you want a shot for the end zone, or you're playing for the field goal, Coach Morrow?
No, sir. I'm playing for the field goal, but I got to play going the other way. You don't want a 6 or 7 yard loss.
And there becomes a question, and Roy just sacked Brennan for exactly that, a 6-yard loss. Brennan tried to roll out and spin out to his left, and Roy caught him down from behind. And Jacob, this is the storyline I'll ask you about Brennan, is that there's no question he has the arm strength.
Right.
Does he have the mobility in this conference? Well, we talked about moving around enough to be successful. We only saw 3 games, right?
Yeah.
And right there, he's not as mobile. Johnson and Nussmeier, he's got to get rid of the football there. He can't afford to roll around.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, including the play he got hurt on against Mizzou. It was a scramble that he got hurt on. So, can he take those type of hits as well? Do you want him taking those type of hits? And then also when you look at one of the things that he had to improve on last year throughout the games that he did start was getting the ball out of his hands quicker, because he can't buy that extra time and he can't find maybe that window that the other guys can. So it's definitely a part of this offense that Miles has to show that he can handle.
Stafford misses the field goal to the left. Coach Morrow, Purple still behind 16-14 is Coach O trying to get a look at some of the backups. So the field goal, no good. White continues to hold on 16-14. Nussmeier back at the helm for the white team as they'll take over on their own 30-yard line. We've got 5 minutes and 10 seconds. Clock is running here in Tiger Stadium.
And that's a big miss. You're down by 2, a relatively short field goal. If you make it, you're up by 1. You have a chance of having a new spot on the team, and you just missed it.
Zone read off to the left side, and I got to go to, was that Coy Moore running? Yeah, it was Coy Moore at tailback. Hadn't seen that, the Romo product. You need some people to run.
So there was a scrimmage, Gordy. There was a scrimmage. We talked about it. Yep. Everybody was banged up. That actually Coy Moore and John Trey Kirkland actually had to play a bulk of the scrimmage at running back. So I said it earlier. Jake Pete said, we are going to play the 5 guys to give us a chance to win, including, I guess, a receiver playing running back.
Nussmeier, nice job. Play action pass. Hits the slant right in the middle of the football field. A lot of zip on that ball. He comes off that interception and throws with some confidence to Kirkland. Hey, look, I've seen enough of Nussmeier right now. He's a gunslinger. He's going to cut it loose. He's had 2 not-so-pretty interceptions, but he continues to step in there and fire the football. Completion for about 11 yards. That's going to set up a 1st and 10 for the white team at the purple 25. They're on the move. Another slant route to Butte. Good ball. Middle of the field. Complete, or did McLaughlin take it away? So it was complete to Butte in the middle of the field, and be interested to see what they call on this one. How'd you see that one? It looked like McLaughlin
he ended up with it, didn't he? I thought the guy that ended up with it on the ground got to keep it.
But no, they'll blow it dead. They will give Butte the reception. It'll be a pickup of 12 yards. The white on the move right now at the purple 34-yard line. Nussmeier back-to-back. Really strong throws and again, I like the psychological makeup of what he brings. He is confident. He's going to cut it loose. You know what you're going to get with him. On this first down, vertical to Butte, out of bounds. Oh, and it's, deflected, intercepted by Ward, but they're going to say Butte was out of bounds. They will say Butte was out of bounds, so that ball that comes deflected back into the field of play is incomplete. So Nussmeier tries tries to hit Boutte going down the sideline.
Gordy, we still got Coy Moore in at running back. So here's what the deal is. If you do that, if that's something that you want to try out to put up in your offense and it be a part, you can't fall into tendencies. He can't be back there and only be a free release route guy. He has to run the ball, and you have to give him protection responsibilities, because if not, they know exactly what your protection is, and they're going to go against that 5-man protection. As we see him catch a ball right here in the flats for 5 yards, that's great. Like, if you want to free release him and make that part of your offense, that's great. But don't fall into the tendency of only being a 5-man protection, because then they're going to start sending double A-gap blitzes, and you're not going to be able to pick it up. So, hey, Coy Moore, if you want to play running back, just know that the cut block is your friend in pass protection.
And it's a good look. I mean, you know, Doug, you talked about Alvin Kamara and what he did with the New Orleans Saints. Really similar. I mean, there's some times that Kamara could absolutely play as a slot receiver. Nussmeier here on 3rd and 7. Crossing route in the middle of the football field. It's going to hit Dre Jenkins. Going to pick up the first down. Looked like Purple was in zone. The linebackers got lost. Jenkins found a crease in the middle of the formation. He'll catch the football. They'll convert. 1st and 10. White team at the Purple 20. Clock is still running. 122. Yeah, 120 and going. Again, we're playing a running clock here in the fourth quarter, as the white team trying to put the icing on the cake and just really run out the clock with a 16-14 lead here with 120 remaining. Nussmeier from the pocket checks down. The Moore coming out of the backfield. He's going to get for big yards. Does he stay in? He does. Gets down to the 6-yard line. Moore's looked really good, Doug, at running back. Coming out of the backfield, we saw that one carry.
This may be his chance to get on the field more than he would otherwise. He's got the ability to carry it from scrimmage, to run pass routes out of the backfield, and as a wide receiver.
39 seconds and counting. White at the Purple 4-yard line. They'll go empty. No running backs in the backfield. Twins to the left. Trips up top. It's Nussmeier from the shotgun formation. White may be punching one more touchdown. Great job by Nussmeier. Nothing on the right side. He looks to his left. Moore wide open. Coverage breakdown. Touchdown. White team. A little dancing going on out there. You can do that. Another flag goes out. Referees can't throw flags on that in the spring game. It's now 22-14 PAT to come.
And they're going to let it run out.
Nice bounce back, right, for Nussmeier.
Yeah, absolutely it was. To be able to have the ability to kind of cut the interceptions loose and go out there and lead your team on a long touchdown drive. And again, Coy Moore playing the running back position. Remember, we saw that a lot, Gordy. 2019, Jefferson would motion into the backfield, and he'd run those routes.
All right, that is a final, so they're going to go ahead and let the clock run out. 23-14, White defeats the Purple team. We'll take a timeout. Our final thoughts coming up next on the LSU Sports Radio Network. White team defeats the Purple team 23-14 in the National L Club Spring Game here, sponsored by Tony Chachere's, Gordy Rush, along with Jacob Hester, Doug Morrow. Guys, as we wrap this up, for spring games goes, I thought it was fairly entertaining after a slow start. Offensively, you saw some nice highlights, and I think the big thing, LSU didn't have any injuries, and that's especially after coming out of this 2020 COVID season, a little bit later, spring football season, and you didn't have the rest. Let me go back. You didn't have the rest between the normal rest that you have to come out of this thing pretty healthy, I think, is very good for LSU, Jake.
Yeah, because the numbers were already kind of down with some of the guys that, because you mentioned it, Gordy, roster management is completely different now than it has been in the past. You've got some guys going out. You got some guys certainly coming in that we talked about over the broadcast. But they got what they wanted to get done. They wanted to see all 4 quarterbacks this spring kind of go with the ones and have a chance to lead the offense, and that was a big part of it. So now they have a better book of what they want fall practice to look like and how those reps are going to be divided, because you can't give everyone equal reps in the spring, right? You have to have, maybe it's 2 of the 4 start to really lead, to push, to fight, to battle, to try to get that number 1 spot. So those reps are going to change in the fall, but now they have a better book of what they want those reps to look like. And obviously the summertime and 707 and those things play a factor, but the spring practices, they're going to watch those spring practices 100 times before they get to fall practice. So now you're going to go back and you'll probably adjust kind of where you had guys on the depth chart after the spring's done.
Doug, defensive side of the football, 2 areas that jumped out for me. Defensive line play, at least 5 or 6 sacks, the last count that we had. And the secondary, I thought, played well. Several interceptions. Dwight McCaughlin was easily, to me, the defensive MVP of the game.
Both of those areas were good. And what was good about the defense in the secondary is such an improvement from last year's secondary.
Sure.
Very, very noticeable. But they were playing against some pretty good receivers who I thought made some great plays. Mm-hmm. So there were several long passes where receivers made outstanding catches despite being well covered. But you also had some great defensive plays on the similar type passes for interceptions or for breakups. So it was a good thing to watch both sides very well matched in the secondary with good receivers. I mean, I think that's great with this new offense. They've got to be able to complete those balls downfield or complete the 15 or 20-yard pass, make the catch in tough circumstances, despite the fact that you're getting ready to get whacked. And that's what you look for from a receiver. There was a lot of that. Good things.
All in all, a lot of positives today.
Yes.
Positives, and again, you're injury-free. Guys, thank you. Thank you so much. Again, LSU baseball coming up. What's the first pitch on that, Jacob, on the network?
The first pitch is at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. So first pitch of game number 3 of the series.
Yep.
Game number 2 today, LSU and South Carolina, a 7-inning game. Doug?
Let me interrupt you to tell you what a great job you and Jacob did. It was such a pleasure working with both of you. It was a lot of fun, but you guys were terrific.
No, Doug, thank you as always. And for Joe Jackson, our engineer, Brian Haldane, back in studio producing. For Jacob Hester, Doug Moore, this is Gordy Rush. It's been the LSU Spring Game 21 on the LSU Sports Radio Network.